Hey guys, welcome to a new review. This time I'm reviewing the newest episode of The Walking Dead. This is Season 6, Episode 4, Here's Not Here. Now this is the Morgan episode, so of course it's not very good. We've had a really good episode for the first one and extremely good for the second. Third episode was just as good as the first, and now we have the Morgan episode. I was disappointed, yeah. I figured because Morgan's in it, it's going to stink, but I figured it might have a lot of interesting stuff to it, but no, it didn't. Its main problem, I would say, is it didn't have enough action. It had a lot of talking, and when it did have action, it wasn't really enough. Like, occasionally here and there you'd see them kill a walker with one of their staffs. Yeah, but the thing is, in this episode they go over Morgan's origin, which it is kind of unneeded. I got the idea of what happened just from what he said in the previous episodes. We see him come, he knows how to fight now, so we figured he learned that from someone. Then he talks about a cheesemaker taught him how to tie, and I just assumed from that there was a Yoda guy and he died and now it's just Morgan. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. Okay, so we start off and it's Morgan talking to that guy who I had said previously he did not kill that guy, and he didn't. He has him tied up in like this house that's in Alexandria, and the guy, he's talking to the guy, he says like, you said to me previously, you want everything that I have. Well, I'm gonna give it to you. And so he tells him his story, and that's everything that he has. Ah, I get that. Oh, that's how that works. Okay. So after he says that, it starts the main part of his story arc here. Now, there were previous sort of flashback episode parts where, like, they'd show 5 minutes of Shane previously, like in the second season, where they show Shane go back and try and get Rick, but he can't. It's too difficult. So that was kind of cool, and it was fun to see. It was fast-paced, and that was useful. But then to have a whole episode that's a flashback, you'd figure could have a lot of potential, but this is Morgan. If it was anyone else's flashback, it would have been good. Like, if it was showing what Glenn did before all this, that would be good. If it was showing even what, I don't know, was another character, I can't think of, if it was anyone else, then it would have been good. But Morgan is just really boring, and it wasn't a good idea to make a whole episode based around him, especially since he's a jerk and a loser at this point. We find out that he wandered around for a little bit after he saw Rick, Carl, and Michonne that time in the episode Clear, Season 3, I believe. And after that, he does what's expected. He does his insane stuff where he kills a bunch of stuff. There's one cool scene where he's just killing all walkers that come towards him, and he like builds up this little fort area where he's got all these spikes sticking out of the ground so that the walkers will stab into it. Then he kills them and drags them, burns them in the middle of the place. That was cool. But then he meets the cheesemakers. His name is Eastman, but I'm gonna call him Yoda, because that's what he is. He's just some sort of Jedi master who's going to teach him to be wise and do the smart thing, which I kind of assumed that there would just be a Yoda guy, and that's what this guy is. Now, we find out in this episode that Morgan does kill a lot of humans. He says that he has killed before, and they're not bad people. He just kills them because he has to must clear everything. He's like a robot or something, so it's like he's programmed to clear, so he must clear, and then this Yoda guy has to change his programming. For some reason that reminds me of a movie. If you can think of a movie that's from, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so then we take off from him gathering those zombie bodies and burning them. He walks up to this place where he sees a goat just right next to these cabin houses. And he's like walking up to it, and then he hears a voice that says, please don't kill the goat, I need that for this and that. And so Morgan goes hunting for this guy who's talking to try and find him and kill him. And it makes him really unlikable right there, just to think that he would be such a murderous jerk just because his wife and son got killed. I mean, Rick lost his wife. It hurt him, but it didn't turn him into a weirdo. Morgan should have been a better person. I mean, and this sort of happened in the comics. In the comics, Morgan didn't have much storyline, though. He was killed off awfully fast, and I wish they would do that with this Morgan, but I think they're not going to do that. But I think he's going to meet Lucille, yeah. He's going to have a nice meeting with Lucille. That's Negan's baseball bat. So, that's my prediction right there. Anyway, moving forward, he finds the guy who's talking and attacks him, then gets knocked out and put in a jail cell that's inside of the cabin. And later we find out that this jail cell was in there because this Yoda guy was a psychiatrist for criminals, and he would evaluate the criminals and see if they're ready to go to join the real world again or stay incarcerated. But he met this one guy, his name was Crichton, something Dallas Crichton or something like that, Wilton Dallas Crichton or something like that. If I don't, please comment in the comment section below and tell me what sort of idiot I am for not remembering that name. I'm so sorry. Anyway, and that guy, that insane guy Crichton, killed his family killed Yoda's or Eastman's family because he said that he wasn't ready to join the real world, be freed. And so Crichton, after killing his family, went back to the prison and was doing this program where he would garden, which made him free so that this Yoda guy could capture him, bring him back, and he brought him to his house where he put him in that jail cell and starved him to death. And that's what turned him into a pacifist, and that's what he teaches Morgan. But we don't find out about that until the later part of the episode, so I mean, I kind of assumed a lot of that, but not everyone did. So anyway, Morgan stays in that jail cell for a little while, watches what the guy does, sees him use this staff of his to kill walkers, and that's, of course, he's going to teach Morgan how to use that staff to fight, and that's how Morgan becomes a ninja, or a ninja turtle. And from there, we see... then finally the guy offers Morgan he can go or he can stay there and crash on his couch. Now Morgan, he tells Morgan that the jail cell has been unlocked the whole time because he threw away the key. Now later we find out he threw away the key because that was when he killed the guy, Crichton, who killed his family. Anyway, Morgan refuses, and then he sort of pushes it, and Morgan opens the gate and attacks him because Morgan's a jerk. And Morgan attacks this guy 4 times in the episode, and all this guy ever does is help Morgan out. He feeds him good, delicious food, and he gives him some advice, he talks to him, he's really nice to him, but all Morgan does is keep attacking him. He's biting the hand that feeds him. And that's not a likable character trait, I gotta tell you. As for let's move on to the rest of the episode. Morgan, he subdues Morgan, and Morgan eventually sort of becomes okay with this guy, and then they sort of Yoda starts teaching Morgan how he does all of his stuff, how he fights, what his meditation type stuff is, and he's Aikido. That's what Morgan is trained in, apparently. I think that's the fighting style and the like a religion or something. But for him, Aikido means that you don't kill anything. All life is precious, and that's why Morgan becomes that won't kill any human type person. And I don't know, is Morgan a vegetarian too? I don't know. Anyway, after he teaches him, they sort of go wandering. Also, this guy has a goat out in the middle of his place, then that's what he keeps trying to make cheese from the goat. But he always leaves the goat out in the open, and then eventually walkers like keep trying to get to it, but eventually they actually do get to it because he's got like this fence that's just a pole with rope tied to it, and it's nothing to keep a walker out, and he doesn't keep care of it enough. He was very sloppy at taking care of his goat. I felt that was a little weird. Like, if you have one of the only animals around, wouldn't you want to protect it a little better? I don't know. Maybe the guy was just a little stupid. Maybe. Okay, now, then Morgan and him, they're like planning on traveling somewhere, so they head out and they come across Morgan's old camp area where he has all those spikes out and the burned walkers, and then he has Morgan, and they both start doing their weird chi type stuff where they just practice with their poles, and then a walker comes up, and the Yoda guy tells Morgan to kill the walker. He says, you take care of this one, and Morgan goes to do it, but then stops. It's the guy that he killed in the beginning, which we saw. One of the guys, he killed two guys in the beginning. I don't know if I mentioned this. And this is one of those guys. And Morgan just pauses and won't kill the guy, the walker, and it gets like real up close to him. So the Yoda guy grabs Morgan and turns to the side and gets bitten on his back area. And I'd also like to mention, there's a lot of characters that are getting bitten on their back in this season. I think that's a little odd, don't you? I don't think there's like, in previous episodes a few people would get bitten on the back. Here it's, every single episode it seems like there's a guy getting bitten on his back. And then, moving from there, Morgan attacks the Yoda guy because he's angry that he made them stop there and practice when he wanted to not stop there. So this poor guy's bitten and he knows he's going to turn, and Morgan's also fighting him. So then they split up, and Yoda goes back to his cabin, and Morgan's just out there being a grumpus wumpus. And Morgan comes across this couple, that man and woman, they're getting attacked by walkers. So Morgan dispatches them, kills the walkers, and then turns to the people and he's like thinking about should he kill them or not. And the fact that he would even seem like he wants to kill them, that makes him even more unlikable. And from my previous episodes, you may know that I don't like Morgan, but now I hate Morgan even more. Oh, I hope that he gets chopped up into little pieces and fed to Lucille. That's what I hope. If it doesn't happen that way, I would be disappointed. Okay. Now, yeah, he decides not to kill the people because the woman sets down a can and a bullet, and it sort of makes him feel like, I guess that gives him a better outlook towards humanity, and whatever, he lets them go, and he visits with his Yoda guy who's dying at this point, and that's when he tells Morgan about all of his past stuff and how he killed that Crichton guy. Yeah. And he explains to him why and all that stuff. Anyway, I'd also like to mention that in this episode, that guy buries all the walkers, their bodies, and that's kind of a rare thing. You don't actually see anyone burying walkers anymore. It's always they burn them or they just dump them somewhere. But I guess that's part of his peaceful idealism or whatever. Anyway, the guy dies and Morgan decides to go off on his own travels. So that's the end of his flashback, which was, it makes it, I made it sound a little short, but it was long. It was so boring. I felt like it's an hour and 4 minutes long, this episode, but it felt like it was a 3-hour movie. It was just so much talk and boring stuff going on in between. I fell asleep at one point, woke back up, and everyone was like, I was like, what did I miss? I fell asleep at this point. Oh, you didn't miss anything at all. I rewound, watched it, didn't miss anything at all. Anyway, at the very end, we get to see something interesting. The wolf guy that he has tied up, turns out that guy's bitten on the side here. And Morgan lets the guy live, of course. The guy explains to him that he has his own way, and that his people will kill no matter what, and that he would kill anyone there. But of course, also he mentions that he went there looking for a cure, that they might have a cure, but they don't. And it seems kind of odd that was he saying that the only reason that they went there was to look for some sort of cure, or was he there looking for I don't know. Anyway, Morgan just has the guy tied up, locks the door, and walks away from the house. So now this guy could turn into a walker and become a problem, or he could escape and then kill people and then turn into a walker and he could be a huge problem, but it doesn't matter to Morgan because Morgan has his own weirdo ways. Yeah. And then we hear, as Morgan's walking away, we hear Rick scream, the gate, open the gate! And that is the most interesting part of the episode. I immediately am like, stoked for the next episode, because it's gotta be about Rick, right? And that also tells us that Rick made it out of the RV okay, which I kind of figured, but a lot of people seem to have been worrying about that. I don't know why. Maybe they thought that he would die, or maybe they thought that he'd be trapped there for a while. But yeah, Rick does make it back to Alexandria, but that also means that from his urgency, there is something bad happening. Maybe the whole horde is like following up close. This could be really some bad stuff. So next episode I think is going to be fast-paced and awesome, and I don't think this episode was fast-paced or good in any way. If you're going to skip one episode of The Walking Dead, let's say you're going to watch every single episode except for one. Choose any other episode but this one. This is the one that you should skip. It doesn't help the storyline at all. It doesn't develop any characters really. It sort of gives you an idea about Morgan, that he's just an overall scumbag. But they seem to develop his Yoda character more than him in that episode, which was useless because that guy dies. So weird. Anyway. I suppose that's all I can say for this episode. If I missed anything, say it in the comments. I might do a revised review. Make sure to check out my other videos, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.